Hello there everyone, I'm Christina of CSLdesigns and today I'm going to show you how to make these snakeskin Kumihimo bracelets. And these are two that I've made here, just in two different colorways to show you how they can look quite different depending what materials that you choose to put together. So what we actually have is a flat braid structure, where we then put beads within the structure itself, which is then how we achieve this kind of snakeskin looking effect. And this is then what they look like on. So even though it's quite a simple design, it gives quite a big impact because of how we add those beads in. That gives this really nice pattern to the braid. And now then finished off the ends of the braids here with these ribbon ends so I can attach my findings nicely to them. So this is then what the braids look like. So if you want to learn how to make them, then stay tuned. So these are the materials that we're going to need. For this braid here, I'm going to be using my square Kumihimo disc because it is a flat braid structure that we are making. And then as for the cord, I'm using this 1mm satin cord here in this lovely burgundy colour. It's going to go nicely with my beads. And those beads are these 3mm rounds here. Now these specific ones are silver metal spacer beads. You can use other kinds, just make sure that your cord can fit through the holes in them. And then to finish off the ends of the braid, I'm using these ribbon ends here, where we can then attach our finding to the little loops. So I've got my Lotto Claw clasp and extender chain, and then also obviously jump rings to put it all together. So make sure that you check out the description box below the video as well, because there's going to be the material that's written out and any links that you might need as well. So let's get it all together and let's get started. So then, as for the lengths of cords that we'll need, I have 8 lengths here of about 45 centimeters each. Then what I make sure to do is to put all the ends together so they're even, and then just tie a regular knot there to help hold them together, and then we can attach these to our disc. So now I've attached the cord to my disc by putting that knot down through the hole in the center of the disc, so it's coming out towards the back, and that's also where the braid is going to be growing. Then I distributed the rest of the cords into the notches like this, so I put 4 in the 4 middle slots on the top, and the remaining 4 in the 4 middle slots on the bottom. And then we just need to start the braid structure, because I want to make a little section of braid with just the cord here before we add in any beads, so we can use that to finish off the ends with. So we're going to be using the cross Kumihimo braid structure, and out of the 2 middle ones on the top here, I'm going to take the right one out of those 2 middle ones, release that, and then bring it to the left side. So the right one of the 2 middle ones goes to the left. Then I'm going to take the left one of the 2 middle ones and bring that out to the right side and just put them into the slots straight on the side there. Then we need to move the bottom and the top cords to the opposite side. So I'm just going to start on the bottom, and imagine that you have kind of a line down through the center that kind of splits the disc in half. So we have a left side and a right side. So out of the 2 middle ones on the bottom, the left one here, I'm going to just start on the left side. It doesn't matter what side you start on. I'm going to take the left one out of those 2 middle ones and then bring that to the top into the left one of the 2 empty ones. Then take the next cord out and bring that down into the empty slot on the bottom that was just freed up from the previous movement. And then take the next one out again, which is the last one on this bottom side. Bring that up into the top slot that was just freed up from the previous movement. And then I'm going to go to the other side. So on the right side of the disc, do the same thing. So I take this right cord out of the 2 middle ones and then bring that to the top into the slot that's straight opposite, that's empty. Then the next one out comes down into the empty slot on the bottom that was just freed up. Then the last one on the bottom goes up into the top one. And then we just need to bring the side ones back into the braid. So I'm just going to do one side at a time here. So I'm going to grab that, and I like to kind of put it in my hand, and that helps pull at it, because then I'm going to push against the cords in the middle and then bring it down, because that helps tighten up the braid in the middle and also makes it more even throughout. Then release the other one and do the same thing. Just tighten up that braid in the middle there and then place it into the bottom. And then you can see we have all the cords in the original setup. So we have 4 on the top and 4 on the bottom again. And this is now one full round. So all we got to do now is repeat this. So basically you just want to start the next round in the same way. So out of the 2 middle ones on the top, take the right one out to the left, and the left one out to the right, so they cross in the middle there, also hence the name of the braid structure. Then we start from the bottom again. I'm just starting on my left side, bring the left one of the 2 middle ones into the very opposite slot on the top, and then just move each one, next one out to the opposite side there, and then repeat on the other side as well, moving each cord here till you used all of them, and until we then need to bring in the ones on the side back into the original setup. Make sure you tighten up that braid in the middle. And the same thing on the other side as well. And then you just want to do this until you have a few centimeters of braid before we then start adding in the beads. So now I made that little end that I need of the braid there, just a few centimeters is sufficient. Then we need to start adding in the beads for the rest of the main part of the bracelet. So to do that, what we need to do is start the next round in the same way. So we need to cross those two middle ones on the top. So I take the right one first, bring it out to the left. And then I take the left one and bring it out to the right. And then what we need to do is add in our beads on the bottom ones here in the middle before we move them to the other side. So I'm just going to take the left one out of the two middle ones on the bottom because that's the one I would normally start with. And then what I've also just done here is singe the ends of the cord just to make it easy to get through the beads. Just do that with a ladder if you're using a synthetic cord like I am here. Then I want to add my bead onto the length here before I release it. Then let it drop down, release the cord and let the bead drop into the middle. Now what we need is for this bead to basically end up underneath the cord that's going out to the side but in the middle of the braid. So what can really help with that is just gently lifting up this cord a little bit, so just loosening it a bit like that, you can see. So then that gives the space for us to tuck in that bead. So make sure to push it under the cord that's going out to the side and then tuck it into the middle. Then you can bring the cord up into that slot on the top there where it would normally go, and then make sure that that bead stays underneath that cord going out to the side, because then that's trapped in place. Then you just continue with the rest of the movements on this side here until you used up all these cords. Then on the other side we need to do the exact same thing. So again, grab a bead, add that onto the right of the two middle cords there, and then let it drop down as I release the cord into the middle. And then also here you can just lift up that cord that's going out to the side a bit to make it easier to get in. So just push it in under that cord and have the bead sit there in the middle. And then do the rest of the movements as well on this side here. And then we need to bring the side ones back into the braid. So same principle. Now make sure when you do this now, don't pull too much, because otherwise it'll make the beads crumble up and kind of fall out of place, because there needs to be space for the beads to sit. So make sure you don't tighten it too much, but obviously still so it's nice and even. So that's now another full round, and we've added in 2 of our beads. So I just thought I would show you one more time up close here so you can really see where the beads need to go. So first of all, we need to take the 2 middle ones on the top and cross them so the right one goes out to the left side and the left one goes out to the right side. So they're now crossed in the middle there. Then on the bottom here, I'm going to start with my left one. I need to add my bead before I move it. So I grab the bead and then put it onto the cord and then let it drop down as I'm releasing the cord. Just like that, and have the bead come all the way down. It's getting a little bit stuck. So just like that here, so it falls into the middle, and then that's where we can just, because as you can see there's not that much space. It gets easier after the first 1 or 2 rounds. There's going to be more of a natural space in there because we already have beads in, but regardless you can just lift that cord that's going out to the side, in this case the left side because that's what I'm working on, lift it up a little bit to make more space, and then make sure to push that bead down underneath it so it sits right there under it but still on the inside of the braid. And then obviously bring the cord up into the slot on the top, and then we just complete the movements on this side, and then we do the same on the other side. So I take the right one out of the 2 middle ones, and then I want to add my bead onto it just like this here, and then have it drop down as I'm releasing the cord all the way into the middle. And then again, just lift up this cord a little bit. If you find at some point you don't need to do that anymore, that's fine. It obviously means that you have the more natural spacing. But then make sure to push that bead in so it sits underneath that cord, but still on the inside compared to this outer one on the top. And then just place the cord in the top slot there, and then you can see that the beads get trapped underneath the ones that are going out to the side. And then we complete this side as well. Same movements, and then on the side ones, one at a time, just tighten it up a little bit. Just make sure to keep an eye here. Like I said, don't do it too tight now, but just tighten up so it looks even as you're looking down through the hole in the disc there. And also the other side. And also bear in mind that you don't need to do it too tight, because now the next movement will be the two middle ones here, which would then bring those two middle beads that we just added in closer to each other because they're crossing in the middle there as well. So that's how you want to keep adding in your beads. Now keep an eye on it throughout. If any beads pop out, you can always kind of pop them back in place, but they will stay in place once you've got the whole braid done. So keep doing this until you have the length that you need. So now that I'm done adding in all my beads, then what we've got to do is just make a short end of the braid again with just a cord, just like we did right there in the beginning. So we have that end to help finish off the braid with. So all you want to do is start a new round in the exact same way. So crossing those top two middle ones first of all, and then we take the bottom one, start one side at a time, and now just don't add in any beads. We literally just make this round of the braid with no beads in. Finish that off, and again make sure that when we bring the side ones back in, that we just tighten it up. And then obviously now you can gradually tighten it more and more, because just like in the beginning, you'll then be able to see that braid is actually a bit narrower than when we've added beads in, because they obviously add more spacing. So you're going to get that tight again. It's going to naturally this edge in, and then just do that for about the same length as the beginning. And once you're done braiding, we can take it off of our disc. And this is then what the braid looks like. So all that's left to do now is finish off the ends here. I'm going to do this on both ends, and I'm going to be using these ribbon ends. Now if you're not familiar with how to do this, I already have a tutorial where I show how to do it. I'm going to put a link to that in the description box below if you need to have a look at it. But then you can use these and then attach your findings to those loops in them. So just finish off both ends of your braid, and then you'll have your finished bracelet. So I now finished off both ends of the braid here, and then I'll attach my clasp on one end, and then the extended chain on the other end, and then it's ready to wear. Just using that clasp there is going to make it nice and secure on the wrist, but because it's cord that we've used to make the braid with, it's also very comfortable because it's going to just mold around your wrist really. And then as you can see as well, the beads will stay in place now, kind of no matter how you shape this around, because we've actually completed the braid. So as long as you make sure the beads go in the right place while you're doing the braid, they're going to then stay in place once you've finished it. So this is the one that I've made, and then I also made one in a different color combination that looks like this here, just to show you how they can look quite different depending what materials that you choose to use. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please feel free to check out my channel. I have loads of other tutorials and also loads for Kumihimo here, so feel free to check that out. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.